He's in studio with me now. You guys know him, UFC fighter, Ranger, Special Forces. He's been everywhere, and he's got a new book out, Scars and Stripes, that is coming out
June 7th.
June 7th. I was like, I know it's like the first week of June.
That's right.
So June 7th, pre-order it. And I would highly suggest that when you do go pre-order it, do it from like Books A Million or Barnes & Noble or the publisher, because they do your for like bestseller lists. They won't count like Costco, Walmart, or Amazon, especially because you're dirty, dirty conservative.
Yeah, especially for that.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your studio. This is gorgeous.
Thank you. I mean, it does the job. It does the job.
I feel so at home. I'm like about 18 inches from a wall of weapons, and this brings me joy.
Oh, I know. And you blend in so well. We can, because you're in camo, so we can only see like the top of your head. You can only see that.
Just a floating blue head.
Yeah. What did you expect when you walked in here? What did you think you were gonna?
I assumed a proper studio, and it looks fantastic. It's gorgeous. I mean,
He called us a proper studio.
It feels like it. Yeah. I'm like, I need a monocle and a bow tie, you know.
Yeah, there
just
you go.
Be a real talking head, a floating talking head.
And you're in Dallas because you're speaking later today. You got an event coming up, so you're in Dallas. You're only in Dallas for a short time now.
Yeah, I'll fly home, or I'll drive home tonight.
And you were telling me, because you're in and around the Austin area, that you were flipping some seats in Austin.
No, we wanted to.
Oh, you wanted to.
Did not happen.
But it came close, though, right?
No.
No, not even close?
Nope.
You got to seed that ground. Well, you tried, though. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I mean, it was three friends, three veteran friends that were running for office, and I cared more about, like, you know, veterans being in office, and they got stomped.
Oh, but I love that they stood up, though, and that they tried.
They did.
What is it with, like, progressives all moving down to where you are?
When you make a place that you live so unlivable, then you have to move. Like a virus will destroy the host, but that host, once it starts dying, it has to move on to something else. So like that parasitical approach to, I mean, socialism and communism destroys everything that it goes to.
Yeah.
And
people realize it too late, sadly.
Too late.
Have you thought about putting up like signs directing everybody up to like Oklahoma?
That'd be amazing.
They come into Austin.
No, they all go to Austin though. All of them do.
I want to talk about your book, but I have one question. This is going to be a weird topic, but I'm fascinated by it. UFO hearings.
Yeah.
It's the first time in like 60 years. So I'm of two minds about this. Okay, so you know a lot of things that a lot of people don't know because of what you do.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. So I'm looking at it like this. Either there's a big like cloaked Klingon spacecraft somewhere out of the ranges of Earth's orbit, and you know they're just like prepping us and getting us ready, or it's just a distraction from the fact that we can't get baby formula. Gas is ridiculous. It's hyperinflation, and the fact that people are so desperate they have to go to UFOs.
Yeah, can it not be both?
I mean, it can be.
Yeah, because like there's definitely no baby formula on anything.
Yeah.
And but we have some wild aircrafts that, you know, within Department of Defense and foreign governments that are using. A UFO is just unidentified foreign object flying through the air, right? So that could be anything that we don't know what it is. Have
you ever seen anything?
I've seen wild things.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, even like Southwest Texas near Big Bend and Marathon, like you'll be out there and there's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of acres of training area down there that are for the government, you know, and like something will go flying by and I was like, I have no idea what that is. I have no clue. And, you know, they drop bombs out there. It's wild. Actually, the show Mosquito Coast talked about that training area because a bunch of, they were trying to smuggle people through that area. And it's all Air Force owned demo training lanes, hundreds of thousands of acres that they use for all sorts of aircraft. Who knows what they have?
You've done a lot of television. Have you ever thought about maybe this might be Tim Kennedy's next program?
UFO research?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as something tries to capture me.
If anybody can find them aliens, it's you.
Yeah, I nearly found Hitler, so.
I'm saying, right?
Might as well give it a whirl.
That's, Hitler, that was what found him easy. Yeah. Now it's aliens.
That would be wild. I'm totally in for it.
But I love that, but to the thing that you said, that I want to make sure that didn't fly by. You're like, I've seen some wild stuff, like secretive government wild stuff,
or
that's alien.
How do you know the difference?
That's a great question.
Like,
I don't know.
There's not like one of those egg-shaped things with those long eyes printed on the side of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, outside of it being like, I am I am from Mars. How do you know?
Yeah, and I'm a cynic, so I would need one of them to actually come up to me and be like,
Yeah,
no,
little
for real,
green dude.
I'm an actual alien,
Yeah.
like for real. Like I am totally doubting Thomas, like for real, I'm an alien.
I would love it, but I don't know.
You've seen wild stuff. Okay, so this we've had, and I have like the situation with the economy, and then with the UFO hearings. And I told everybody that they started today, first time in 60 years. But it's a House hearing. So one other question, then I want to segue into Ukraine. Is there something about like, nuclear powered battleships or something? Because one of the things that I've read consistently is that stuff always appears around nuclear stuff. Like whether it's like a nuclear ship or where like tests were being done or something like that.
So anytime that the way that fleets work, when you have a vessel like that, they're not by themselves, right? There's lots of things. Satellites are over them, so you have more eyes, you have more cameras, you have more radar, you have more visibility. So it's not like something's happening around that nuclear submarine. It's just that there's more eyes and signal devices that can track what's happening around there.
Interesting.
So,
that's actually a really good explainer, because I thought maybe it's just the nuclear material.
Yeah, they're just like naturally gravitating towards the nuclear sub. Possibly.
Right.
But what we do know is like wherever that is, there's satellites that are watching where that thing is, right? There's tons of tracking of that nuclear submarine. There's tons of other vessels that move around it that have radar capabilities and signal signal intelligence that
you have a lot of eyes, so you're able to see
everything
more than you would around. So that kind of makes sense that there would be more reports of this.
Yeah, flying fish is a little too big, and they're like, what was that?
Yeah, we're talking to our friend Tim Kennedy, UFC fighter, television host, Ranger sniper, unapologetically American. He's got his new book, Scars and Stripes, which we're going to talk about. You were there in Afghanistan. You were there in Kabul. Oof. You were there at the airport helping to evacuate people. It was an absolute mess. People were left behind. And you did a lot to make sure that, because I know people were taken to like a third-party area, and then there was a lot of vetting going on before people who were allies and assets to our soldiers, helping to provide them with intelligence and also saving their lives.
Yep.
From that to now, we're going to be apparently sending people to Somalia. My question is this. If Democrats did not think that Afghanistan was worth American blood, then why do they think Somalia is?
I mean, you want to talk about a host nation that has historically, and I'm talking like decades, had failed policies. Like you look no further than Somalia. And clan warlords been ruling everything. Obviously Bill Clinton with Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of heroes went in to find a bad guy, and ultimately, because of politics, were nearly left to die. Like with the most elite special operations units on the planet in there. Thank God it was them. If it was anyone else, everyone on the ground would have died. Two of my personal heroes, Shugart and Gordon, received the Medal of Honor during that gunfight, and some of my I'll call them mentors from that era in special operations that I work with often. Like the Jim Smith and the Kyle Lambs. That's their generation of that Battle of Mogadishu. But here we are. Obviously, the withdrawal. I don't know if that's the right word. The failed removal of Americans out of Afghanistan crumbled and allowed the Taliban, a vacuum to exist, so the Taliban could effortlessly just walk through every one of our military bases, take our PVS-31s and, our MRAPs and our helicopters. Like they just walked and took everything. And ultimately we end up on one Air Force base, HKIA, and trying to get the remaining.
Which is crazy, because there was a whole other military installation
two
that was
huge
just
ones
outside of Kabul, and then you go from a place that's secure, and then you take that and you go basically into urban warfare.
Yeah, if we kept Bagram and Kandahar, we would have been able to set our timeline. We would have had all of our military flexibility, maneuverability, and control over like two built-up AOBs. Instead, we fall back to a civilian airport. And we saw how that ended with planes taking off in Afghanistan.
Disastrous.
Yeah, it was horrific.
So this situation in Somalia, and that just came out yesterday, that headline, because the threat of Islamic terrorism in the form of Al-Shabaab this time, it's always the same devil, different name. Al-Shabaab, there originally was a fighting force that was doing a really good job at pushing them back. I mean, why not just send like, you know, a couple of, you know, Tim Kennedy clones to train these dudes, make sure they're armed, and then they can keep doing what they're doing and hold their own ground.
Yeah, that nation building, you know, we have tried to do that for 20 years in Afghanistan, right? Where you send Green Berets in and you work with like-minded, freedom-loving people of Afghanistan.
Before we take their air support away.
Yeah, and doing that in a Somalia, like they're our friends now, they'll be our enemies later. You know, we trained Bin Laden. You know, he was one of the men that special operations went and trained. Like if you could go around, I really believe in what we do. I believe in, you know, de oppressed liberators of the oppressed.
But thinking that it's necessary and also supporting it are two different things.
Yeah. And strategically knowing when and who to do that with.
Yeah.
You know, like we can't just like arbitrarily pick this current warlord is in favor of us, and like that warlord wants more power. So currently it'll work out great for him because he'll be elevated, his men will be trained, and then he too, you know, absolute power corrupts you absolutely. Then he will become powerful.
There's no reason for us to be there, is there, in Somalia?
I don't know what resources that are. I mean,
I don't know what interests are being threatened.
For 20 years, we have not had a 9/11. And a lot of people will look at Afghanistan and it be a failed war campaign. But the 9/11 didn't happen again, right? We kept them on their heels, we kept them moving back, and we kept them trying to fight us over there instead of planes smashed into our buildings here. Yeah. So like, you know, cost versus gain, I don't know in an asset liability, a P&L sheet, how you're gonna measure, did we do more good than what would have happened?
Right.
And these are all what ifs.
Exactly. Do you want to stick around for another segment?
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to talk about Tim's book, Scars and Stripes, which is out June 7th. It has it right here on the advanced copy. And I'm like, is that the first week of June? Yeah, it's right there. We're gonna talk to Tim Kennedy coming up. So stick with us. We got a quick break, and then we'll be back afterwards. His new book, out June 7th, Scars and Stripes, which you should be going to purchase, because he's going to talk about all his shenanigans and a lot more in this book. And we're going to talk about, we were talking about UFOs, and I'm trying to get him to do a television show where he finds aliens like he did Hitler. But I got to ask you about Ukraine.
Yeah.
I really feel all of these years, they were propping up Vladimir Putin, like all shirtless, riding around on horses in the Siberian forest. He saved a bunch of journalists reportedly from a puma. Yeah. And then he went diving in the Black Sea, and he came up with treasures that were just shiny and clean. They just, just magic. They really tried to make him out to be like this military strategist. He's martial arts expert. He plays hockey. Who knew? And then we saw the invasion into Ukraine, and their tanks were getting blowed up. It was hysterical because there's this David Attenborough parody video where they say, the Russian tanks go and they live out the rest of their lives in the fields of Ukraine. It was a disaster. It seems like one of the worst military special exercises I've ever seen. What are your thoughts on this?
When you have Ukrainian farmers that are effortlessly going and capturing Russian tanks, if you want a wild...
The farmers are
hardcore, Ukraine farmers, and they just hook up and they tow away these gigantic tanks.
Yeah.
And I think it's like Russian farmers 82, Russians 2.
Yeah.
The destruction by Russian farmers. And when you're getting your butt beat by Russian farmers or by Ukrainian farmers, maybe you need to revisit your invasion plan.
Yeah. It reminds me of that scene from Zack Snyder's 300 where you had the Spartans and they were meeting the Athenians. Yeah. And and Leonidas was like, Spartans, what do you do? And they're like, we're warriors. Yeah. And then the other guys are like, well, we're painters and, all this other stuff. Because they're used to this. Like, they come out of the womb throwing punches.
Yep. Even the tank commander winner of the biggest tank competition in Russia was mobilized to be part of the invasion. And he died. He died, like this Russian tank commander and the winner of the whole entire tank games in Russia goes over. And, and it's really hard to discern what's truth, what's fact and fiction.
There's propaganda on both sides, for sure.
Oh my goodness, and that propaganda, even on, on our Instagrams, you see these hundreds of bots. Those are Russian and Chinese bots that are totally strategically targeting us, and that's
flattering, isn't it?
It kind of is, but also infuriating.
Yeah.
Because I want to have conversations, and they're removing our ability to have that civil discourse. But the fact of never knowing what's fact or fiction over there, it's wild.
Incredibly wild. And how does this end? Because it seems like this is going to go on for quite a long time. The longer it goes, it's worse for Russia, right?
Yeah. I mean, anytime that you're moving from an invasion into a resistance phase, so unconventional warfare. You look at our initial invasion into Iraq,
right?
And how like the shock and awe and how powerful that was, right? But then a decade later, we're like still getting blown up, and we're never fully settling. We go and kill Zarqawi, but then 5 new leaders come into his place. Then Iran starts pumping in money. Then Russia's pumping in money into Iran. Iran's pushing in money into Afghanistan and Iraq. So then you're in like this never-ending war. That's a proxy war with kind of other leaders.
It's a mess. Talking with our friend Tim Kennedy, UFC sniper, ranger, television host, author. Scars and Stripes. Tell me about this book, because you go into some detail here. You did some stuff as a kid. You did some things.
I did some things. There's a lot of living for sure.
Yeah.
As I like stumble out this door, busted and broken.
It's like the dangerous book for boys grown up.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's
every
like.
mistake that you can make. Matter of fact, like I said that if you could make a mistake as a young man, I made it, and I very transparently, through absolute truthfulness. Here's my mistakes, and hopefully you don't make them yourself.
Goes into him fighting the Taliban, UFC, and also himself. It's very the places you'll go.
Yeah.
Sometimes, your biggest opponent is you. Very interesting, though. Tim Kennedy, I appreciate you joining me in studio. Congrats on this book, Scars and Stripes. Get your pre-orders in now, and make sure that we run this book up to the top of some bestsellers lists. It's a really good read.